Hello, everyone, and welcome to another of our top earner interviews. Today, I have the one and only Hayley Hobson.
Thanks,
Hayley. How you doing?
I am good, thanks.
It's good to see you. We just saw each other a couple days ago.
2 days ago?
Yeah, in your house in Cardiff by the Sea.
Yep.
And you got a house there and a house in Colorado.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know this about me, but I spent 10 years in Los Angeles before I met Wes. So I was in the Santa Monica area, and when I met him in Boulder, Colorado. I was doing a training for Pilates because I was teaching back then. And I met him in Boulder, and I ended up moving there and getting married. And after a couple years, I was really missing the beach. And I said to him, I know you're going to think this is funny. I said to him, I want to have a beach house. I want to have a second home. And he's like, why do we need to do that? Why can't we just do an Airbnb like when we want to go away? And I kept talking about it. And I went as a visitor, as a guest to a yoga retreat in this area in Cardiff. And I loved it. So then the following year, I went back and did it again. And I kept talking to him about it. And he said, Hayley, you can't just buy a vacation home. You work for yourself. You have to show tax returns. It's not that easy to just get a second mortgage. So I kept doing that every summer for like 3 summers. And then the third summer, I brought him with me to the retreat, booked the Airbnb for 2 weeks. And after I had been there for a couple of days, I said, so you ready to start looking? And he's like, we're still doing this? And I said, yeah, we've been talking about it for 3 years. And he came back to that idea of renting and Airbnb. And I started bawling. And I was like, this is what I've been working so hard for. This is what I want to do. So now we've had the house for 4 years, and we spend probably 3 months a year there.
Yeah.
And the whole summer and holidays and vacations, and love it. So
it's a beautiful spot.
Yeah.
Beautiful spot. And sometimes you just, like in this case, saying, you know what? This is part of my why. This is part of my lifestyle.
It was, yeah.
This is something that's important to me. Might not be important to you.
Right.
And if you have something that's important to you, we can talk about that too. You know what I mean? But sometimes it's not just about the cash, or it's not just about it's about the way you want to live.
Change. Yeah, lifestyle change. Like, I love being by the water. And even when I was smaller, I grew up in New Jersey, not that far from the water. And he grew up in the mountain, where he moved to Boulder in '89. So he's been there forever. And so I want to be by the water. He wants to be in the mountains. So now we live in literally, I think, personally, 2 of the best cities in the United States.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. So for those of you who don't know, Hayley Hobson is one of the top earners in network marketing, very high level person in her company. Are you number one in your company, or are you?
We don't do it like that. I mean,
Okay.
I'm the top rank in the company. There's a handful of us that hold that rank.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are qualifying for it every month, but I have been consistent at that.
Yeah.
Pretty much qualifying for about 5 years now at that rank.
So she's in the Network Marketing Pro Hall of Fame. She's got a podcast, which is very successful. She's been featured in Mind, Body, Green, Positively Positive, Network Marketing Magazine, expanding her influence to over 1 million fans. She's, worked in yoga. Her husband's an award-winning elite athlete.
Yeah, he was a professional, like the real deal professional triathlete, like Olympic, was at the Olympic trials, and was I think within the top 5 in the world for the sport.
Like triathlons.
Yeah, triathlons. Mm-hmm.
And he's just a freakish athlete. And anything he does is just unbelievable. Because he's a big guy, and still, able to do all those different things. So
and he's old and still able to do all those things.
Yeah, old compared to what?
Compared to the 30-year-olds that are running around there.
That's true. That's true. So Hayley, I want to go back because I've never known you as not the mega star, huge earner, influencer, social media expert, all this stuff. What were you like as a kid? What were you like?
So it's funny you should ask this question, because as you know, we were talking to you in Marina the other day. I've been trying to figure out what to do with my 10-year-old, almost 11-year-old daughter. She's going to 6th grade this year. And with all of the stuff that's going on in the world, our school announced a couple weeks ago they were going to do a hybrid 2 days a week on, 2 days a week off. I thought about it, didn't want to do that, wanted her in school. And then yesterday they announced no school at all. Like it's going to be 100% online. So I'm really grateful that a couple of weeks ago, I started looking at other alternatives, and we were looking at different options. Like, are we going to homeschool? Are we going to tutor? Are we going to do hybrid? Are we going to do private school? And it was a very emotional investment on my part. And I realized after weeks of really doing the research and the interviews and talking to teachers and students and graduates and admissions, that the reason I was so emotionally invested was because I had the hardest time in 6th grade. It was the worst year of my entire life.
Really?
It was horrible.
Why? Were you being picked on or bullied? Or?
Kind of. I mean, what happened is I had lived in an area in southern New Jersey until 5th grade. And the way that the school system worked, we went from kindergarten, the first graders had their own little schoolhouse, and then we came back to the main school for 2nd through 4th. So that was all fine. And then in 5th grade, I went into middle school. So 5th grade, normally it's 6th or 7th, but in 5th grade, I went to middle school. Well, my parents pulled me out of middle school at the end of 5th grade, moved me to an entirely different district, like 25 minutes away, whole new school system, and I was back in elementary school. So these students had gone together from kindergarten through 6th grade. I knew no one. I was scrawny. I was ugly. I was weird looking. I had weird teeth. I had a weird nose. I had weird hair. I just was not an attractive little kid, and I had no confidence. I was an extreme introvert. Really? And it was really hard for me to fit into the school. And it felt like kids were picking on me. And I just had a horrible year. And it took me a couple of years going into middle school, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, to come out of my shell a little bit in this new area. And then I felt like I was sort of holding my own in college. And then I feel like I blossomed maybe when I really found what I wanted to do over the last decade.
Really? Mm-hmm. So what did you feel like you were going to do with your life when you were a kid? Did you have any ideas?
Well, I mean, I had like my parents kept like dumping my brain with what they wanted me to do.
What did they want you to do?
Be a doctor, be a lawyer.
So the professions.
Yeah, like because back then, like you weren't successful.
That was respectable.
Right. And my dad.
What did they do?
My dad was a doctor.
Okay.
Radiologist, ran his practice. My mom was an art school teacher at a private school, artist. Yeah. So I went to law school.
So you went to law school.
Yeah.
So growing up, I mean, you're trying to kind of survive. Middle school is probably, I think, the toughest.
It's so tough as a girl and as a new girl in that age.
I think for any age. I mean, it's the meanest. Mm-hmm. One trend I've seen with my kids as they grew up, which was different than my upbringing, is mean in high school was a little bit out of fashion now.
Yeah.
And now it's fashionable to be nice.
Yeah.
In high school, but not so much in middle school.
No, because they just don't have any self-awareness and they don't know how to communicate. Yeah.
Yeah. But in high school, bullies are a little bit more, given a check. Like, no, that's not cool here to do that. So were you a good student? I'm guessing you were.
Yeah, I was a great student. Yeah, I did really well. I went through the public school system all the way until
Were you entrepreneurial? Did you think you were entrepreneurial?
I had no idea because...
Were you ambitious about trying to make money or trying to figure out different things?
Well, I had jobs. I started working when I was like 16. I worked at like a restaurant, Salad Alley, as a waitress. And I worked at, other restaurants over the summers. And my friends and I would love to go to the beach in the summer. We went to the Atlantic City, Margate, Ventnor area in South Jersey. And so we wanted to rent houses. So like the deal was we would go, we have our house and we would work all summer.
Jersey Shore.
Yeah. And I was like a cocktail waitress a couple summers and, waitress. And yeah. And then when I was in college, I still wanted my own money. So I got a job a couple nights a week at like a Mexican restaurant. And so I was always working. I was definitely ambitious, but I didn't know that I had an entrepreneurial bone in my body. I always thought that I would go and get a job and work for someone else. And I think when I was an attorney, I did practice for 5 years. And I think my vision was I would eventually make partner. But as soon as I got there, I was like, sucks.
Yeah. So you went to law school for your own reasons? Well, or for some
I mean,
for
one
your
of the
parents?
things that I think, I was trying to communicate is I didn't have a lot of self-confidence.
Yeah.
And so
but
don't
was
know.
that went into high school and college also?
I think it really did go into high school. I really think that and I'm not blaming my parents, but I think in that generation, children weren't taught how to choose who they want to be and what they want to be. And so I feel like I sort of relied on what they thought I should be. It's kind of like my whole story with network marketing. And I was also really sick as a child. Like I had a lot of, my dad used to call me a piece of Velcro because anytime anything was flying around in the air like a cold, it would stick to me. I'd get it. I always had allergies. I was always sick, and I always had a lot of.
I had terrible allergies.
Yeah,
just terrible.
But I would get every cold, every flu, everything all the time. I was always sick, and I always had a lot of digestive issues. And so I was diagnosed with irritable bowel as a very young kid, like 5 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And I grew up with a lot of like trauma in my gut. And I think now from what I've learned through my own personal journey is that it's that whole like mind, body, brain, gut connection. And I didn't have the confidence to own myself and to be who I was or who I wanted to be. And so, yeah, I just did what they told me to do and then realized, and it was a lot of stress walking away from that career too. I didn't trust myself at first.
So I'm going to catch up. You go to school, you go to law school.
Yep.
And you become an attorney.
Yep.
You join a firm in what state?
So I was living in Philadelphia. Okay. I had gone to law school back then at Rutgers Camden. I apprenticed with a judge or clerk or whatever they call that for a year in Philly. I moved to LA. That's how I got there. And I was hired at a firm. I had to retake all the bar exams because I took New Jersey and Pennsylvania because they're like right on the border. Everybody who takes New Jersey takes Pennsylvania and vice versa. So I moved there and I had to sit out for like 6 months and retake the bar, which was a nightmare. I was hired by a boutique bankruptcy firm, a corporate bankruptcy firm. So they represented the debtor. So I represented companies like, I don't know if you remember back then, they did the Terminator, Caracal Pictures. So we had like big clients like that. And then that took me into a little bit of the more entertainment law. So then I was hired by E! Entertainment. And then after that, I was hired by Jersey Films, which is Danny DeVito's company. And then I was like, or maybe it was vice versa. And then I had a friend who moved into the entertainment industry. And I think I was just thinking about him the other night, like wondering what happened to him. I actually think that he was an attorney too. I think he ended up leaving also. And I think he ended up producing like Survivor or something. So big deal in that. And so he actually inspired me to walk away. And I was like, what am I going to do? You know, but I was really
What didn't you like about the law business?
First of all, physically, I hated sitting in front of a desk 10 hours a day, reading legal documents, being in a library, having no human contact unless I was arguing with people in court. I just didn't find it very creative and stimulating. I mean, maybe if I was a trial attorney, maybe it would have been more creative. I don't know. But it was draining. It was really draining. And I found it exhausting. Like the hours were exhausting. I remember thinking back then, because I was driving.
Because that's the culture, isn't it? It's just grind, especially in your early years.
Yeah. So I was living in Santa Monica, and by the time I got, it would take me 20 minutes to get to work. I was working in Westwood, and I'd have to be there. It was considered like poor form if you weren't there by like 7:30 in the morning,
right.
You know? And then it was considered poor form if you didn't stay until 7 or 7:30 at night. So it's 12 hours of your day in this office. I was thinking to myself, I don't even know how I'm going to have get a pet, let alone friggin' do my dry cleaning, because nothing's open on either end. So, and then sometimes you'd come in, you'd be in a case, you'd be working on the weekends. It was relentless.
And you're from what ages?
I was 25 when I graduated. So I was 26 when I did the internship. I was probably 27, 28, 29 when I know I retired by 30.
So by 30, you're like, I can't do this anymore. When did Wes show up in the picture?
He didn't show up for about another 4 years.
Okay. So you're a single girl.
Yeah.
Southern California. You say, you know what? I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, but I know it's not this.
Right.
You're 30 years old. What do? You're like, you do the Jerry Maguire, you walk out and say, I'm taking this goldfish. And what was it?
Well, I happened to have a hobby on the early mornings and weekends, which was the sport of triathlon. That was my connection to Wes. So I was getting up and I was doing group rides at like 5:30 in the morning, swim practices at 6 a.m. I grew up as a swimmer. and running, and then doing sometimes evening workouts or weekends. So I was very involved in that, and I was good. I was like an elite athlete for an age group. I wasn't Wes's level, pro level, but I was good. I'd go to races. I'd place on the podium, in my age group. And I was getting injured all the time. And I was like 30 years old, 28 years old. So I decided that I wanted to learn more. I became fascinated with anatomy. And I became fascinated with, also with healing my gut back then. So I'm in Santa Monica. This is like 20 years ago. This is before Whole Foods, right? But there were like micro grocers, and the Pilates had just kind of like, the name became semi-recognizable. This is like, again, 20 years ago. So I started doing Pilates and yoga. And this is 1996, right? When I started doing yoga. So maybe that was even 24 years ago. This is a long time before yoga was popular and before Pilates was popular. But I got into it, and this is overlapping with the law career. And I realized that I really loved figuring out how to feel good in my body. Because if I could change my posture, if I could strengthen a muscle, if I could elongate something, if I could eat better, then I would feel freer in my physical space, and that meant freer in my brain too, and I'd sleep better. So I became a Pilates teacher. I started going through the training, and I just decided I wanted to be a Pilates teacher. And I guess here's where the entrepreneurial part comes in. I never worked for anybody else. I just hustled and got my own clients. And I went from making $100,000.
Did you have a studio?
Pilates
studio?
I had some space, yeah. So I bought the equipment, right? And then maybe I worked for a couple years. Maybe I worked for a year somewhere else, like transitioning. But then I bought my own equipment, and I put it in a physical therapy space, and I started seeing clients, and then I got trained in yoga as well. And yeah, I had a full schedule, like both in California, and then when I moved to Boulder, I hooked myself up with the Rally Sport Health and Fitness, which was the big health club there. And then we opened the Colorado Athletic Club, which from scratch. They hired me to kind of bring it out, the whole mind body department up from scratch. And I was teaching, but I was also managing like 35 teachers and 135 classes on the schedule between Pilates and yoga and events, starting to bring like master teachers in for workshops. And that's when I realized I kind of liked marketing.
So in this process, are you making similar money?
No, that's what I'm saying. I said, like, I left the law career. This is in 2001. I was making like $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then I think I started making like 30
right
away. Yeah.
Even with a full schedule?
No, like in the beginning, I'm saying, as I was ramping up. I got up to 100,000 again. By the time I stopped teaching, I would say it took me a few years, maybe 3 or 4 years to get up to that. By the time I left, maybe I was making 125 a year with other hustles, like events that I was holding, that kind of thing.
You're just looking for all the angles.
Yeah, teacher training programs.
The reason why I asked, because we have different kinds of interviews, right?
Right.
Like the last top leader interview I did was literally a person living in a trailer, desperate, not knowing what they're going to do, and finding network marketing. And then there's different paths. There's professionals, there's elite professional business people that are resourceful in other things and could do lots of different things and end up choosing network marketing as a core business.
I don't know that I chose network marketing as a core business. I don't know if I knew what I was doing when I got started with it. I just knew that.
No, I'm not necessarily choose, but it finds you or you find it at a particular moment.
I was looking for a way to, so quite honestly, I was teaching. I was so full that sometimes I would be teaching 8 clients a day, and 8 clients a day with the scheduling and the breaks, and it's still like a 10-hour day. It was long and it was excruciating. And it got to the point where if it was like a Memorial Day weekend, I didn't want to take off Friday because I'd lose the income. And so then Wes started getting annoyed because he's like, well, we can never go away.
So tell me about how you guys met.
So I flew out to Boulder, Colorado to do an intensive because I was getting bored with my teaching. I'd been teaching for 4 or 5 years and I was getting bored. I felt like I was getting stagnant. So I I don't know how it happened, but I found this school in Boulder, Colorado called the Pilates Center, which is a very well-recognized school in the United States, actually internationally now. And I decided to come out and do a 10-day intensive just to freshen up, because I have always been a geek of like continuing education and personal development, all that kind of stuff. So I remembered that there was somebody in Boulder that I had met at a triathlon event who lived in Boulder. He used to travel back and forth to Japan. He was managing athletes. He was a professional athlete too. So I emailed him and I said, do you still live there? I'm coming out. And he said, yeah. And by the way, you got to meet my next door neighbor.
Ah.
So I flew out, and I was fully involved in this training for 10 days. Like, I had no time. It was all day. They were asking me like, do you want to go out? And I'm like, in my sweaty clothes, I'd be changing and showering 3 times a day. I'm like, no, I'm exhausted. I think I met him the very last night that I was there. And by that time, I knew that I was going to do the whole year program. I decided it was like the teaser that brings you into the whole year. And I'd have to fly out there every other month for 10 days. So Wes offered to put me up.
And he did.
Well, I didn't take him up on it the first time. I think I stayed in a hotel again and then met him again. And then
Did you stay in the hotel the whole time?
I did.
First time?
I did.
The whole time?
The whole time. I didn't even see him again
Every
until
night?
every night.
Come on.
Every night. I met him again, and then he asked me if I wanted to stay the next time. At that time, I stayed with him.
And how
the
long
rest
was it?
is history.
How long was it before you guys were a thing?
Like a day.
Really? Just like a day, and you were a thing.
It was a couple days. It was really fast. Like, I remember going home, and we were like in a relationship, and then I knew I was coming back in 2 months for the training. But he invited me back earlier as a visit.
To hang out.
And then after the training, it was like the end of May, I think he like drove out to LA and got me, and we drove back.
Nice.
But we actually broke up.
Ah.
Yeah, we actually broke up during our relationship. So we dated for about a year, lived together, and it was not going smoothly. And
Because of the long distance or what?
No, we were together by then. We were living together in Boulder.
Okay.
I don't know. I think we came from very different backgrounds. He's from the Midwest. We were different religions. There wasn't the parent approval on his side. There was a lot of pressure. It was hard for me, like uprooting my whole life and being in a new place where I didn't know anybody again. That introvert part of my personality came out. I don't know that I made the best impression with all of his friends at first. And maybe I did. I don't know. I'm just making it up like right now.
Sure.
I'm thinking like, so we broke up, and I bought a townhouse and I moved out. And I thought I told you this story. So I lived there, I think September, October, November, December, January, February. And we had planned while we were together to go on this trip to Cabo. We had a friend who owned a house on the like La Palmilla premises or whatever. And so we'd prepaid, and my sister was coming, my brother was coming, and one of his friends were coming. And he and I had stayed friendly during the beginning part of our breakup. So we just decided to keep the vacation. We're like, should we go? So we just went. And this is like, do you remember when you all of a sudden needed a passport to get into Mexico? So he forgot his he picked me up, forgot his passport. He couldn't fly. So you used to just be able to use your license, right? So I went because my sister and brother were waiting for me. And I'm on the plane, I'm sitting there on the plane, and I get this text from him that says, miss you, see you tomorrow. And I'm like, miss you? Like, we're broken up. So he comes out the next day and asked me to marry him.
Oh. And?
I said I had to think about it.
How long?
It was actually a couple weeks. I was like blown away. Like, it came out of nowhere. And then one day we were both at master swim practice, and I was in one lane and he was in the other. And I stopped and I tapped him. I'm like, I'll marry you.
Aw.
And everybody in the pool was like, ah.
Yeah. And you've been together how long now?
Well, we met in 2004. We just
So
celebrated
16
in
years.
June our 13th anniversary. I think.
Yeah. And how many kids?
One together, and then I
Yeah.
have the stepdaughter who was she was 3 when I met her
Right.
in his house on that trip from the Pilates studio. He's holding her in little pink footy pajamas, and now she's 19 next month.
You guys are great together. So fast forward now, you're what I've seen with you, part of your DNA is you can multitask like nobody I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like even when you're in your Pilates thing, you're doing Pilates, you're doing yoga, you're doing this certification, you got this on the side. You're hosting events and you're helping launch a studio and all these different kinds of things. And I don't think that's changed. Right?
No, I mean, you can't do several things literally at the same minute or you do it sloppy.
Right.
But I can work on different projects at once. And now I have the ability to hire literally like a project manager, and assistants and stuff like that to help me with that. So we have people that are in their zones, which is super helpful. But yeah, I enjoy.
See, I'm opposite.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I literally.
But I think that's a
one thing at a time.
Thing. I think it's like, I feel like
Do you
Wes
think
is
it's
like
a guy
that too.
thing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe. So how does network marketing show up in your life?
Okay, so I'm now like teaching Pilates and yoga and managing the health club at the Colorado Athletic Club. And I'm thinking to myself, subconsciously, I don't know if I could do this the rest of my life, because it's getting to the point now where I'm like not wanting to take 4-day weekends because I don't get paid. And I never want to, I met Wes later in life. I was in my mid-30s. I didn't want to rely on him. I wanted to have my own money coming in. And now I'm pregnant, and not now, but back then I was pregnant.
Yes.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, I want to be that mom that can like stop in the middle of the day. And if you don't teach from 1 to 3, it means that you don't teach from 12 to 4 because, you know, your clients on either end. So I think subconsciously the idea was being planted, and I was seeing a coach back then, and I had to write down like all of the different areas of my life, like from, you know, digestion to body image to productivity to marriage to sex life to spiritual, like a million different areas, and really analyze them and go, where are you now and where do you want to be and why aren't you there? And the money thing kept coming up for me. The freedom kept coming up for me. And I started to see, so this was back like 2012. So what is that? How many years ago are we? Like 8 years ago? Almost 10 years ago, maybe. I started to see people online doing things, and I could tell there was like, I didn't know how it was happening, but I could see that money was flowing from different kinds of things. So I just think that it was all sort of subconsciously happening. And then I got really sick after Madeline was born, where I literally lost like 20 pounds, couldn't eat anything. I was on a completely, like, when I could eat, like liquid diet for 12 or 14 days. I went raw. I was like a mess. And my doctor at the time, I saw an Ayurvedic doctor and an integrative doctor, and they were both like, your adrenals are fried. Like, if you don't change your life right now, you're not going to make it.
They call it. Right?
Yeah. It was adrenal fatigue. It was inflammatory bowel. It was like autoimmune. It was all of the things from just having to be everywhere all the time. And so I was turned on to some supplements at the time. And I didn't know this, but it was a network marketing company. And then when felt like I was done taking the supplements, I just kept getting these boxes every month. And I'm like, could somebody stop sending them to me? I don't even know what I'm getting. So that happened. And then another time I was presented with another opportunity, again, another network marketing company, where somebody asked me if I wanted to introduce this cleanse to my Pilates teacher. So they signed me up, and I got a whole bunch of people to do it and made a little cash and didn't realize what was happening, and then started getting product every month and was like, can somebody stop? Nobody had really explained to me the business. So then a third time, somebody reached out to me and said, I see what you're doing in your Pilates business. Would you like to have a supplemental income coming in? And then like the light went on. So I went to a training. I guess it was, now we consider it like a business training, right? And I was like, wow, this is freaking cool. And so I started trying to figure out, like, how could I implement this into my life? And I decided that my goal at that point was I'll slow down the Pilates and the yoga teaching, because I don't want to teach 8 hours a day. Maybe I'll teach 2 or 3, or maybe I'll teach twice a week. And I had already gone through the training of being a certified health coach and life coach. I'll do like online life coaching and health coaching, and I'll have this product. And if I could just make like $2,000 a month, that would be awesome. Mm-hmm. And then within like a month or two, I was making $2,000 a month. I was like, well, if I could just make like $5,000 a month, that would be killer. And within a couple months, I was making that. And then, but I still didn't understand like the whole business. And I didn't feel like I had an upline that had really explained it to me or taken me in. And then I wasn't, full transparency, I wasn't 100% behind the whole product line. I liked certain things. So then I was introduced to another company and I knew what was happening now. And I ended up kind of simultaneously doing both of them for about 3 months, dropped the first, picked up the second, and that's where I am right now.
So, and over the course, and that's been how many years?
So now it'll be 8 years in November. So
8 years. And you grew from, part-time to full-time. And now you do full-time and you have some other, interests and investments and, little businesses and stuff. But you've grown it, you're $1 million Hall of Fame member. And how big is your team now, approximately?
I mean, it's well over 200,000 members.
200,000 members, including customers. Yes?
Yeah.
200,000
Maybe
members.
220.
How many countries around the world?
40 some.
40 some. Wow.
Yeah.
How many countries would you consider significant portions of your business?
Australia and Europe are huge in my business. So I enrolled a leader in Australia and that team is now probably 20 to 23% of my business.
Wow.
And then I enrolled a few people in Europe, and I also enrolled somebody who enrolled a big person in Europe, and Europe is now like almost 50% of my business.
Yeah. How great is that?
And I'm talking from like the UK.
When you go to bed, they're waking up in
Romania. Yeah.
So here's what I want to do. I want to ask you 10 questions, rapid fire questions. Okay? And you don't know what they are or where they're coming from. Answer them the best way you want. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Number one, what is your favorite thing about network marketing?
Designing my own schedule, like having the freedom to work when I want to work and work on what I want to work on.
Okay. What is your least favorite thing about network marketing?
Body dragging.
Now explain that.
So I mean, I still enroll a lot of people. I'm bringing in probably 20 plus people a month that say they want to build the business with me. And I don't think that anybody really knows what building the business is, just like maybe that I didn't. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about having a system now, because I didn't know what I didn't know back then. And so I'm like, if I could just teach everybody everything that they need to know and put them into a system that's duplicatable where they follow this path and they know exactly what to do. So, I get those people and then I give them access to everything and book calls and have follow-up and most people don't do anything.
And you'd think, you read enough books about, I was mentored by a millionaire. Or, if I could just get around somebody successful, I'd do something. And now you're making millions and a person has access to you.
Maybe they
and
don't
they
know.
won't take it.
Maybe they don't know.
Maybe it's a blind spot. Maybe that, like you said, you didn't have it figured out for a while. It was kind of confusing what was happening inside the business.
Or maybe it's fear and self-doubt in their brain.
Right. So and there's a couple different phases inside of network marketing. When you're new, you're willing to kind of put up with bad behavior.
Right.
From people that you enroll, and you're way more patient and you're way more persistent, and you'll just like stick with them. And once you're making a bunch of money, it's like, hey, you don't want it.
Right.
Right.
I had this one person who enrolled last month, and I always give everybody like a little enrollment gift when they come on board. So it's a beautiful book and some little sample stuff that they can, make things out of. And then the next month, when they get their first like loyalty or auto ship order on, I send them another gift, a little pretty diffuser. And just my assistant was just telling me, like, literally right before this interview, this person, she reached out and she, like, I read the text message that she sent and she's like, I'm not buying anything from you until I get that first gift. And I thought to myself, like, first of all, the gift's in the mail. Second of all, you're not buying from me. You're buying from yourself. Third of all, this is your business. How do you expect to do it without the product? I'm like, okay, note to self. This is not somebody I want to work with, right? Yeah.
And again, a lot of it's in education. So many people are employee minded.
Yeah.
Instead of entrepreneurial minded. It takes a shift.
Well, I think there's also a lot of fear around spending money. Like, I probably have it myself when it comes to certain things. Like I might make a big purchase. Even still,
Do you?
I think some things.
Yeah, like what? What was the last thing you went, ooh?
Like, I remember like paying for my Tesla in cash and being like,
right?
Should I be owning this?
Yeah, it was a little weird.
Yeah, or even just Madeline's school. Like right now we're putting her in private and it's a big investment. And I'm like, I mean, of course we have the money to do it, but it still feels like.
And you're going to do it online, right?
Yeah. Well, no, we're going in person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they could say these different schools, they do
Yeah.
these different things.
Yeah.
So dragging bodies is your least favorite thing.
Or I'll give you a good one. I went to the airport today in San Diego to park, and I just pulled up to the airport and parked, and I took my ticket, and it's like $36 a day. I'm like, $36 a day? I could have gone down the street and taken a shuttle over. It would have been $8. Like, there's still that. Like,
that's old programming.
I mean,
you figure out you're probably making about over $1,000 an hour for sure.
Yeah.
$1,000 an hour. So doing that and saving that $25
believe me, I
would
know.
cost you
Yeah.
$1,000 in your time in order to be able. But it's funny how the brain works, right?
Yeah. So anyway, my point was I think these other people don't understand when they're investing in that product for themselves that they're investing in their lifestyle. They're investing in that change. Like, they can't even move forward if they're not going to embody and embrace and own the product, right?
Over the last 8 years, what's been your biggest challenge?
Ooh, I would say in the beginning, I think my biggest challenge was creating the kind of community that I wanted to on my team.
And if it's evolved, describe what the different challenges have been.
Yeah. And then now, and then as it's evolved, one of my biggest challenges was never being able to say no. Like, people asking, people texting, people emailing, people asking and asking and asking.
Creating some
always
boundaries.
Feeling like, so I've gotten really good at that.
Yeah.
I've gotten really good at the boundaries.
I remember we went to Bora Bora.
I was
and
nonstop.
you were like, you were going crazy. We had.
I don't think I had any help back then at that point.
No.
Yeah.
And we
I've
were
hired a whole
talking
team
about
since
it.
then. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you were just like going.
Yeah.
And we're on the beach in Bora Bora,
Yeah.
hanging out. And Wes is like going, come on. And you're like, hey, I got to drive this business.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now you figured out ways to be able to manage
you
that.
have to invest back into the business. And one of the most significant ways that I have invested back is hiring people to help me. It's been life-changing.
What's been like an emotional challenge? Because, I mean, going from where you were to multiple millions a year. And, I mean, I wasn't, like a big popular kid in school or any of that stuff either. You know what I mean? I always felt like an outsider. And I think that stuff follows you, like you talked about the sixth grade.
Yeah.
The emotional part of that sixth grade experience sticks with you.
Yeah.
So, and now you're like top 1% of 1% of 1%. What's that emotional journey been like?
I think it happened so slowly that I was able to, navigate it and kind of go into it and own it. I think that the hardest part for me emotionally has probably just been the responsibility of, like, the business that I created. If I don't keep it going, then my family doesn't have the income, Wes ended up eventually slowing down his career, and so that we could spend more time together and he could help out and travel and all that kind of stuff. So there's this personal responsibility that I feel that if I'm not there, like, driving it, then it's not going to exist. And then also the whole dynamic that happens, male, female in a marriage, when the woman is the one that's the bread earner. Now,
how does the man find his place?
Right. And look, here's the thing, like, I don't know if I would have been able to do this without Wes. Like, I mean, maybe I have that in my personality, but obviously he's been such an instrumental part of my life.
Oh,
yeah.
For sure.
So I never wanted that to be a thing in our marriage where he felt like she's earning, But I think that it just, especially from a guy like him who retired from a very elite, like, superstar, super Hall of Famer, celebrity career, and is now trailing my butt around. You know what I mean? Like, that has been...
And he could be perceived as that, but he has his own business, his project.
Oh, and he's also got his own personality, and he has more personality than all of us, right?
Yeah. He's awesome. What would you consider your biggest success in the last 8 years? Or what are you most proud of?
I think I'm most proud, honestly, of, like, figuring out how to navigate some of this digital marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I was just playing with it, 10 years ago and posting on Facebook. And I think I was one of the first people that kind of did attraction marketing through social media and online sources. But I've spent a lot of time both in hiring people and then learning from them, and also taking courses and going to events and masterminds, really understanding a lot about the whole marketing and sales process and how emotionally the buyer is thinking and what they're doing as they're scrolling or clicking, or what kind of words they need to hear to resonate with them so they don't feel like they're being sold to. Because when you're selling anything online, it's a completely different experience than walking into a physical space and buying something. So I feel really actually pretty darn proud that I know as much as I do.
You're ahead of it, because right now the world's being forced into it.
Well, not only that, but I actually consider myself not just a network marketer. Like, I consider myself like a digital marketer.
Yeah.
And I like that title.
I like that.
Yeah.
Has this profession ever made you cry?
Oh, yeah.
Like, give me, what comes to mind?
Oh, relationships. I mean, I have, the way that my compensation plan works in my company is I can't rank unless I have certain people rank. And they can't rank unless they have certain people rank. And so you do what you can to help everybody rank. Sometimes it's like the push and the shove and the hug and the kiss and the you can do it. And sometimes it's literally like building their teams for them. New person comes in, I'll put them here and help this person rank up, who will help this person. And there have been many times where I felt underappreciated, non-appreciated, even bullied.
Taken for granted.
Beyond taken for granted. Ignored, built an entire income for somebody and don't have a relationship with them because for whatever reason I did something wrong, So that's been weird. And then coming into the business at the place where I was, which was nowhere, and then starting with a group of people and surpassing that level, and then, not connecting anymore to that group and continuing to move on. And relationships, they're hard.
Yeah. If you were not in network marketing, what would you be doing, do you think?
I'd probably be doing just digital marketing.
Digital.
Yeah.
Digital of some sort.
Selling some type of digital product.
Yeah.
Online product. Okay.
Because you enjoy that part.
I do. I love what I've noticed about myself, and network marketing has allowed me to see this, is that I actually have I have a whole creative side to me that I didn't know I had.
And you got a good outlet for it.
Yeah. My mom is an artist. I told you that. And then my dad's dad was a professional painter in New York City growing up. So I have that. I didn't know that I had that. So I found out because of what I'm doing online that I love to write. I love to take pictures. I love to edit pictures. I love to edit copy. And so I spent a large chunk of my week, I would say probably 8 to 10 hours a week, writing, editing, photography editing myself, because I just enjoy it. It's a creative outlet of mine.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Or designing houses. Maybe I would.
You just like the design aspect, the creative aspect.
Yeah, my favorite shows are $1 Million Listing LA.
Yeah? Like the whole design of it.
I love it, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Give me a memorable or amazing place you've traveled to since you got involved in network marketing.
Oh my gosh, there's been so many. Well, first of all, Bora Bora, where we went to, was incredible. That was just such a rock star trip. But we've been to Africa. We've been to Kenya and Tanzania. We've been all over the continent of Europe, all over. From I said.
Any favorites in Europe?
Prague was really cool. Where else? I mean, I love the United Kingdom. I have so many friends over there now, and I just love that whole culture.
Yep.
We've been to Spain. We've been to Italy. I love Italy. We were to Budapest last year, and that was super fun. That was a great city. We did a cruise, from Germany.
Like a river cruise?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Any crazy over the top?
Well, a lot of the trips were over the top because they were company trips, taking us on these insane safaris.
Yeah.
I've never done the safari. Cruise was
you recommend the safari?
Oh yeah.
Really? Everybody says that.
That was the trip of the lifetime.
Everybody says it's just
so
you have to do it.
Good.
Yeah, but I'm not like a camper. So
it's not like camping.
I'll safari.
It's like they take the Four Seasons and they put it in the middle.
I need room service.
They have it. The way they're real high end.
My brother
safaris.
and sister-in-law, they went last year, and they did a tour of the tent that they had set up, and it's like a house.
Yeah.
I mean, with rooms and everything.
Oh yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, you can go any scale. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
you can stay in some pretty nice places.
Nice.
And you're blown away when you're like literally out there in the wilderness and you're seeing these animals. It's mind blowing.
So do you have a favorite book or books that have assisted you in your life or your business that you would recommend? What would be your handful of books that you've recommended to other people most?
So I am not a huge reader when it comes to business stuff. I love to attend events.
Even if it's fiction, I don't care.
I love fiction.
Yeah.
I read, I read The Entire Flight over here. You know, I've got
favorite authors?
Yeah. It's like the kind of thing where you ask me this question and I don't know who any of them are
okay,
now.
Okay.
But
is it romance? Is it
no? It's like
thriller?
it's just like women's fiction. It's about relationships, about life. It's about navigating, and you get to see that whole emotional development of character development, that kind of thing. So a lot of them have been made into motion pictures. Like I know there was one with Reese Witherspoon that she became, like that kind of fiction where they end up being such a good book and then,
See, I go back and forth because, some people are so passionate and ambitious that nonfiction, they're always looking for a little edge.
Yeah.
But I get a little tired of 7 steps to this and three habits of that. And 5 ways to be able to manage teams or, so I mix it between fiction and nonfiction because I think with fiction, you learn about people and emotions and relationships and culture and appreciation for somebody else's point of view.
Yeah.
And then the nonfiction, you get some practical. But usually with the nonfiction, you get the point of whatever they're doing in a couple chapters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then they just keep talking about it.
Yeah. We have a library of nonfiction in our house, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but I can read a book a week with fiction.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the things that Madeline and
Are you more book, podcast?
Book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you listen to podcasts at all?
Some, when there's one that somebody sends my way, but I'm the kind of person, I have a schedule that I love, and it's getting up in the morning and doing some meditation on my own. I use an app where it's a guided meditation.
What app do you use?
I use one called Brain Tap.
Brain Tap.
Yeah, it's cool. It's got an actual device, and it's got blue light therapy, pulsing light. It's got, I'll show it to you. It's in my bag. I brought it for the plane ride home. Tonal beats. So it's high end.
Really?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Brain Tap.
I could never meditate before this app.
I've tried the meditation thing.
Try mine.
And my brain just keeps going on projects.
So does mine. But this one is totally different because of how something's going on with that headset and between the music or the talking. Sometimes there's 2 different, they have a guy from Shark Tank that's in one ear and then the guy who owns the app is in the other, and you're hearing all of these different tonal beats going on and voices, and your brain has
to surrender.
Yeah. It puts me to sleep every night now.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So I do that. I work out. And then I start at my desk.
So you have this machine on your head all night because you're sleeping?
No, it actually wakes me up when it goes off. So I just pull it off, I put it down, and I go to sleep. Done. Yeah.
Okay.
When it stops. So I usually work, between 10 and 5. That's when I'm.
But you're so structured.
So structured.
You're unbelievable structured.
Yeah.
I'm the most unstructured person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of vision, creation, rebellion, all kinds of stuff going on all the time. And I need projects in order to be able to keep me moving. But if I, with rare occasions, I think maybe I abuse my position in your life sometimes. If I'll shoot you a text or whatever, and you get back to me probably quicker than you get back to somebody else because it's not in your schedule. But normally, I could talk to you Thursday between 9 and 9:45.
Well, the reason I do that, Eric, is because I have decided through the years that I've been in this business that I really value my free time.
Yeah.
And so what I was going to say to you is I don't think well at night. I don't want to work at night. And I want to have the time where I'm available to my family. Even if I'm reading a book in my house, I don't want my family to see me working all the time. The beginning days of where I was in my business is not where I wanted to be for the lifetime. So I have really structured my day so that I can get what I need to get done. And there's never a day that I can't.
Love that.
I mean, sometimes it's 5:30 or 6, but it's rare that
You're
I'm on
super
the computer.
proactive. I'm a little bit more reactive. But I love the fact that because you probably get done more in a 7-hour day.
Well, the truth of the matter is I probably only work 4 hours is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Because some of it's just navigating and watching projects
But compare that efficiency to the average person that works in an office for 8 or 9 hours in working for somebody else, they're probably only getting an hour and a half of
Oh,
real
yeah.
productive
Yeah.
time. And yours is just highly efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And you've used it in order to be able to
Well, I
create your
figured out,
balance.
yeah, I mean, I figured out that there's because my brain works like that, like, okay, Tuesday, I want to write content. So I'm blocking out my calendar. So I've found softwares that help me do that. And so I can pass projects back and forth now to my team. And when it's in my box, this is my to-do list today. And then if I don't have to do it till Friday, I'll see it pop up on Friday and everything always gets done.
Yeah. So do you have a motto or mission statement for your life?
I mean, I don't have a mission statement that I've created, but I know that what I really want is freedom in every sense of the word, like not just financial freedom, but physical freedom from not feeling any pain in my body. And then
Mm-hmm.
for other people too. Like when Wes wakes up and he's had a shitty night's sleep, it pains me to see that he's not taking advantages of the resources that I've been able to, tap into over the last decade.
Right.
And emotional freedom, like just being emotionally free to be able to focus on. This is how I found my hobbies with like photography and art and stuff like that. If you're never free and you're always grinding away, you don't know who you are. So I want there to be white space, I call it. You know how when your calendar, when you have it blocked out, your calendar's like a certain color?
Yeah.
And if it's like back to back to back to back, there's no white space. So I want white space in my calendar. Like sometimes I like block out space so that you can be creative and have white space at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, nothing to do on the weekends. Did you see on Sunday when you guys messaged us how easy it was for us to get together?
Yeah, sure.
Because we don't bog ourselves down. We just want to be free.
Right. Love that.
I mean, sometimes you have plans,
Right.
but
How would you describe yourself? I mean, what are you? Who are you?
I would say I have a dry sense of humor.
Uh-huh.
I'm strategic.
Uh-huh.
I would say I like to get things done. And like we said, I like to be productive. I really cherish my relationships with other humans, friendships. I don't want people in my life that are not bringing value.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So we're kind of coming to the end here, but the people who watch this, they watch for different reasons. Some people just looking for a kick in the ass. Some people looking for some inspiration. Some people looking oh, that person's like me. You've been such a success inside of our profession. And I love the fact that you went through your journey in order to be able to find yourself here, and you're still evolving. Mm-hmm. I think nowadays it takes the right kind of person to be willing to continually evolve, because most people I know are not. They are what they are. They're a police officer.
Yeah.
They're a postal worker. They're a manager in a software business. They're a teacher. They're a designer. But when times change, they don't want to. When the world pivots, they wait for the world to come back.
Yeah.
To wherever it is they're doing. So for the people out there that are watching this and they want to do something inside of network marketing, maybe they're still trying to figure it out. Maybe they've been around for a while looking for a breakthrough. Maybe they're a high-level earner looking for more significance or a new challenge or whatever it is. For all those different people and wherever your mind goes with this, what advice do you have for them?
Well, one of the things I would say is I would really be open to the possibility of change. Now, as structured as I am with my daily schedule so I can be productive, I love change. I love it. Even when I had my Pilates schedule, I remember every quarter I wanted to change it. I didn't want to teach mat class Tuesdays at 10 o'clock. I wanted to teach it Friday at 11 because I love the idea of just like mixing things up and having change. When the whole world went into this lockdown, 5-6 months ago, everybody went into a panic and I thought, oh, wow, this is kind of cool. Like we can stay home for a while. Like, I think that, and that kind of leads me to the next topic, which I would say, or piece of advice, which is stop looking at everything and say that it's happening to you. Like notice what's happening and see if it can be working actually for you. I am a really optimistic person. I mean, I have I'm not like your cheerleader. I don't have like that bubbly kind of personality, huggy feely kind of person, but I'm very optimistic. And when things happen, I don't dwell on them and grind into that negative mindset. I think, oh, okay, that just happened. All right, now what? And I think that's really served me well. And I would recommend that people try that on, because there are things that are going to happen. Like even in my own company right now that, there's all the red tape and all the little things that are annoying. I was on the phone with one of my leaders as I was driving to the airport this morning. One of the big leaders I have in Romania, she was complaining about, some dynamic. And I just said to her, like, I don't even know how you can, like, they always ask me, well, can you jump in? And I'll mention it here and there. But the bottom line is like, who cares? Who cares? It's all figure outable, right? And if that's the result that you were so attached to, great, it's not happening now. So what else can we create instead? If I'm doing one of my online launches and we're not getting the results that I want, and you probably see this with events and things like that. All right, so this is happening and it's not what we want. So what are we going to create? What are we going to change? And if you don't like your life, change it. I changed my life like 3 or 4 times already. And I started changing it when I was, 16 and getting my first job, and then 20 and 18 or 20 and going to college and law school, and after in Pilates and yoga and health coach and life coach and network marketing, and just be who you want to be. And nobody's judging you. Nobody cares. Everybody's so wrapped up in themselves. They don't care what you're doing. Just own who you are and just decide to walk the path that you want to walk. I see so many people who, like I was saying to you before, because I referenced the body dragging, who don't sign up because they're living paycheck to paycheck. They don't sign up because they're waiting for the right moment. They sign up, but they don't get started because they're busy, right? If not now, it will be never. No, I mean, I get that sometimes you might have to wait a week or 2, or next month is going to be, but
any delay can turn into never.
Yeah. Turn every situation, every circumstance in your life into an opportunity.
I love that so much. Hayley Hobson, one of the superstars in our business, one of the big thinkers in our business, one of the visionaries, one of the creative souls, doing great work, providing great value for the entire world. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for sharing the time with us.